The Eurozone's sputtering recovery data comes as the G7 discusses its trade agenda. For more on what we can expect from the summit, I spoke to economist David Lizoain in Barcelona.
Well, I think we're going to get a lot of rhetoric, a lot of saber rattling, and let's say a joint action on the part of the G7. But I'm not sure if we're going to expect anything especially concrete to be coming out of this meeting.
I mean, when you say saber rattling, I mean Russia, obviously not there. So the Gang of Seven get to talk about Russia without them in the room. What new things can they possibly discuss that the media hasn't perhaps gotten a hold of yet, do you think?
Well, they can choose to escalate the rhetoric, but I don't think a military response is on the table at this point. So, you know, they've already carried out some sanctions. They could ratchet that up, but they seem to be at a bit of an impasse at this point.
There's been recent reports that various business groups have, I don't want to use to complain, but they've raised the concern that it's beginning to hurt economic growth. Do you think that perhaps might be a topic of discussion at the G7 meeting, whether or not the sanctions might be a bit much for an economy to withstand?
Well, I think the big issue is that this geopolitical instability is not good really for anyone. I mean, especially not the citizens of Ukraine. And, you know, instability is bad for business. So there needs to be some sort of agreement worked out with the Russian government, preferably leading to a military de-escalation and some sort of peaceful solution of the problems on the ground. So I don't think stepping up the pressure is the way to go.
I mean, you're an economist. You've been covering Europe for some time now. And of course, we know the dichotomy between Northern and Southern Europe, what happened in Greece, what happened in some of the other southern countries. Relatively quiet. Things have improved substantially, although the unemployment rate hasn't moved significantly lower. In your view, Europe has turned the corner, but is there something else we should be worried about?
Well, I don't think that Europe has actually turned the corner. And the news that's come out recently about GDP figures is in fact quite mixed and surprising in the sense that Germany is still growing quite strongly, but countries like Finland and the Netherlands are now in recession, joined by countries like Portugal. So now it's not necessarily a north-south dichotomy, but a series of economies that are doing well and a series that are not doing so well. And so we have a situation of very low growth tending towards a recession, and combined with a situation of very low inflation. So that would suggest that, as for what we've been calling for a long while from the South, is that the European Central Bank act more aggressively in terms of monetary policy to provide a kick to the economy.
One of the big topics that came up during the European financial crisis was the fact that there was going to be fiscal union in Europe, right, where all the countries come together and we're going to have one regulation and it's going to apply to the vast majority of Europe. Has there been any further progress made on that front?
Well, we're going to have to wait and see, because we just had European elections on May 25th, and now, right now, what's the main issue on the table is who will be the president of the European Commission. And as a function of what sort of commission is chosen, then we'll see if we have how we advance on things like the banking union, leading to a possible later fiscal union. But right now,
I'm going to ask you to speculate a little bit, because there's been a lot of stuff made about this in the media with President Vladimir Putin and, of course, President Obama. They're going to be in the same room for a couple of times over the next couple of days. Is it possible that an olive branch of sorts, there could be peace to be made between the two, at least perhaps behind the scenes at least? Are you hopeful of that?
Well, I always got to be hopeful that peaceful solutions can be worked out. But you know, it's not really clear to me what mechanism there is to get Vladimir Putin to back down. I mean, ideally, there's an understanding that's in the common interest of, I'd say, the world community as a whole to take it easy and focus more on diplomacy and less on the use of force.
Give me one thing that excites you about where Europe is right now. I mean, obviously, we're not talking about the destruction of the euro. I mean, there are some positive elements, isn't there?
Well, you know, there was the saying that in the election campaign that Europe is 7% of the world's population, 25% of the global economy, and 50% of welfare spending. So, you know, the main positive point that can be said for Europe is that this is a a highly advanced integrated economy with strong social protections. And so that means a well-educated workforce, high level of infrastructure, a lot of skills. So the question is, will we come out of this crisis stronger? Or, as we've been seeing with austerity, will this European achievement be sort of whittled away?
Special thanks to economist David Lizoain for joining us.